Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Joshua Katzan of Congregation Habonim, New York. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
This week's Parsha tells a dramatic story of a mutiny incited by Korach against the leadership of Moses and Aaron. Korach is joined by Datan and Aviram, as well as 250 distinguished members of the community who offer incense to prove they are worthy of the priesthood. The earth opens up and swallows the mutineers. Aaron subsequently stops a plague by offering incense of his own, and his staff then brings forth almonds, proving that his designation as high priest is divinely ordained. The first pasuk of the parsha says, ויקח קורח בן יצהר בן קהת בן לוי ודתן ואבירם בני אליאב ואון בן פלט בני ראובן. Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kehat, the son of Levi, took himself to one side along with Datan and Aviram, the sons of Eliab, and on the sons of Pelet, descendants of Reuven. So, Rabbi, you got an easy parsha. It's a dramatic story, and if I remember correctly, last week we talked about Moses and his role in this story. This year I'd like to talk about the role of Korach, about his character. Is Korach a bad man, or maybe he's just someone who wanted too much of the good stuff?
I'm glad you asked the question that way. I think Korach is the man. He's a man. I think in this story, he is the symbol of what it is to be a human, subject to the Korach part of himself, which is an aspect of self which is driven with ambition, desire, whatever it is that might blind us to the implications of our desires and our hopes. Maybe we can even call them dreams. I guess it depends on what side of the equation you sit. You could see Korach as being a model for what a good, ambitious person does. Or you see Korach as somebody who's leading a rebellion that is, in fact, antithetical to the whole project. He's either compelling or he's destructive. And I think that Korach here really is a symbol of what it is to be a human being that struggles with that part of ourselves. And we probably haven't seen it quite like this yet in the narrative of the story of Exodus and the wandering.
Right. Well, when you look at the complaint that this group raises, the Torah says, yeah, you know, they cry, the entire congregation are all holy. Are they not? They're not right?
Yes. There's nothing like truth as a tool for manipulation. He's absolutely right, but it's sort of a twisting of an understanding of what it is to be kadosh, I think, in the first place. And the purpose of Kedusha, I believe, it has a purpose to compel us to go to a different place, to become something different. It's not just the fact of being. That's the mistake that I think many of us associate with the idea, the concept of being the chosen people. What the mistaken understanding is that you don't have to do anything, that you just are by virtue of being kadosh, and that's wrong. To be kadosh means it's more of a verb. You have to create it. You have to manufacture it. And when Korach raises this truth, here's the reality. We are all kadosh, and God dwells amongst us, which at first, in the beginning of the story, that was touted as success. That was the goal. Let us build this Mishkan so that God might dwell among them, among the people. Great, so here we are. Now that we look around and we're all kadosh, what makes you, Moshe and Aaron,
so special?
So kadosh, that you're kadosh over us. Aren't we all kadosh? And so, yeah, no, that's true it might be a true statement, but the context is clearly a perversion of the reality of the truth there. I'm definitely one of those that sees the nature of the question as being self-interested, not the interests of truth and virtue. It's really Korach striving for himself.
Well, you called it manipulation, and it reminds me that when I used to tell this story to my children when they were little, they did not much identify with Korach, but they definitely thought that the punishment was too severe. So in some ways, his manipulation keeps working.
In some ways, his manipulation
is still working. If children today feel that the punishment by God was too severe, then Korach succeeded in doing something.
Well, it just goes to show that this story is really a spiritual mirror for our spiritual development as people throughout our lives. When we're children, of course the punishment is too severe. I mean, after all, children are wholly and completely given over to their Yetzer Hara, to their ambition, to their wants and needs and desires.
Well, not my children.
Not your children. I'm talking about everybody else's children.
Right.
For any child, the challenge is to overcome one's own wants and allow for the needs of someone else. I want it, and I want it now. I want more, etc., etc. It's the role of the adult to repeatedly provide the framework for how else to be, so that when the mind and the body catch up developmentally, there's a framework to fit in, and there's a framework to follow. So that's how we build Kedusha within ourselves. We build Kedusha in our communities and in our people by staying with it, by taking what we're learning from Torah, for example, as basic principles to guide us to move ahead. I think what your children are spotting in Korach is exactly right. It's also exactly right, as we saw a few weeks ago with Nadav and Avihu. There seems to be a dynamic of success followed by immediate collapse. And
well, it's the same story of over-ambition punished by death.
Right, or innocent arrogance, I might call it, also. I'm not saying here that Korach is evil. He's just feeling what he's feeling. And it makes a lot of sense for him to stand up and say, well, what about me? I'm not arguing with that. He's not an evil person necessarily. But the outcome of the choices is a problem. I mentioned Nadav and Avihu also because we see after the big rumble between Moses and Korach. So Moses, in a sense, it looks like he sets them up. He sets up the 250 men that joined Korach by instructing them to put fire in their fire pans, to burn the incense, which we already know from Nadav and Avihu what happens if you bring an offering that is not commanded, a fire offering.
Right.
And here they are doing the exact same thing. In fact, you might say that Nadav and Avihu get away with innocence, where these guys are a little less innocent. And so after the ground swallows up Korach, immediately these 250 individuals get consumed in the same way that Nadav and Avihu do.
Right.
So sometimes we have to learn the same lesson over and over, it seems. Because it's a natural part of us. We will always have to deal with the people that we are. We may think right thoughts, we may have good wisdom, good teaching, and good meditation practices and davening and giving tzedakah and so forth, but the eruptions of our, whatever that is within us, whether it's our Yetzer Hara, the eruptions of our nature, the predicaments, our predisposition of character and characteristics, are what we're always going to have to work with and deal with. So you might learn it at one point, and then later on you have to deal with it again.
Rabbi, thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.